Hello everybody, PJ back again, working on another car, putting another camera in. Today I'm working on a 2019 Vauxhall Crossland X, and we're fitting, as you can see, an X-base camera with a next-base fitting kit. Now, I'm going to show you what's in the fitting kit. I'm going to show you the useful tools to have to do the job for a nice neat installation to make it look as factory fitted as possible. So first of all, let's have a look what's in this kit. Well guys, here we are. We have a replacement power cable, so you do not use the one that comes with your camera and plugs in your cigarette lighter. This terminates in a mini USB. Like I say, this next-base camera uses the mini USB. Some other brands use different connections, so you might want to check that before ordering a fitting kit for your camera. The power cable terminates in a red wire with a bullet on it, which is for 12-volt power, and an earth connection to put behind a chassis earth bolt or mounted to the chassis somewhere, which I will show you shortly. It also comes with 2 fuse spurs. Now you only need one. Okay, this larger one is for commercial vehicles and older vehicles, some Mercedes, etc. We're not going to be using that on this Vauxhall, so we can put that to one side. We'll be using a mini blade fuse spur, like so. Now what this does is basically enable one socket in your fuse box to be doubled up so that it can power more than one thing. So in other words, you have a fuse in it, which is a 2 or a 3 amp to run your camera, and then next to it goes the fuse that you pull out of your fuse box and you push it into here, and then this pushes in the socket that you've removed the fuse from. Now these are only meant to be fitted to auxiliary sockets in the fuse box, so don't go with anything to do with ABS or airbags or anything like that, or ECU. Auxiliary stuff that goes on and off with the ignition, such as your heater blower motor, that type of thing. We'll be looking at those shortly. Now, as you've guessed, this does terminate in a female bullet connector, which actually connects to there. So that plugs in there and makes your connection up for you. The other thing you've got in here is a ferrite filter. This is on a hinge, like so. And basically, you pop them open. The thing opens up. You put your, as near the camera as possible, power cable through it, loop it round under it, back through it again, and out. And that is to aid with DAB radio interference. Now I do say aid because sometimes you're going to get DAB interference with your camera and there's not a lot you can do about it, but these are to aid it. So that's what you get in the kit. Let's move on to what tools you should ideally need to do the job. This is the general selection that I tend to use when doing these kits, okay? Multimeter, so we can test which circuit goes on and off with the ignition system of the car. So obviously you don't want the camera on all the time, it will drain the battery. So we use that. If you haven't got one of those little test probe screwdrivers with a light in the end of it where you can touch it on a circuit and it illuminates to show you whether it's live or not. Either will do the job just fine. Some wire snips, always a handy thing to have for trimming your cable up and stuff like that. Long nose pliers. I use these to remove the fuses because the fuses are quite recessed in the dashboard. They're hard to get at. The car comes with a little plastic tool that allows you to pull the fuses out, but it's fiddly. These are much easier. You just reach in, grab the fuse, pull it out. Obviously don't remove any fuses with the ignition on. You must have your ignition off. Next up, probably the most important thing of the whole lot. This is a plastic leverage tool, and it's used for basically levering off plastic sections of the dashboard to get behind them without damaging the dashboard. So it's quite hard, and if you use a screwdriver on your dashboard, you're obviously going to put dents in it and make a right mess, so you don't want to do that. These are about £1, £2 from eBay, Amazon. Most local car shops sell packs of them. Very, very useful. Highly recommend you invest in that or something similar. 2 or 3 cable ties. These are actually used above the window screen. I'll show you that in a minute. And some electrical tape. That's all you need. Let's get on with preparing the power cable for the camera. Here we have the power cable, terminating in your mini USB. We've opened the filter, wrapped the cable around it as you can see. Make sure it tucks in neatly, click it shut. Probably need both hands to do this, it's going to be a pig. Oh no, there we go. So it pops together like so. You need to make sure both hinges are clicked shut so it stays put. Then what I normally do is wrap a couple of cable ties around your cable. This is to pad the cable out so that basically it doesn't drop down, because your headlining in your vehicle is going to hold the cable up. If you hit a big pothole, there is the possibility it could drop down right in front of your view in the middle of the window screen. This just beefs the cable up and supports it. Normally when you've snipped a cable tie, they're sharp on the edge, so I tend to wrap them in electrical tape. Reason for that is when the sharp edge over time in theory could rub through the it's only made like a fibre material, your headlining. It's quite weak, so obviously that pads it out just enough to do that. So then what we're going to do after we've covered this one is tuck it up above the headlining. Now with your headlining you can use your fingers, gently ease it down a little bit, just enough to tuck the cable under. Don't go at it like a bull in a china shop, it's very fragile, so just sort of ease it down and just tuck the cable up under the headlining. So there we go, it's tucked nicely up, there's the end of it, and we've tucked it all the way along until you get to this corner here. There's this plastic trim. Now you're going to need your plastic leverage tool to pop behind it, and there we go, click. It comes out, look, as you can see, enough to go behind this. Now in there's an airbag. You can see the airbag just there, look, there it is. We're going to tuck the cable behind the airbag and go down with it. So we've run our cable basically to this point here. It's dangling down in the footwell down here. You're going to need access to your fuse box next, which on this model is in here. Let's just move the manual out of the way. There's a little door thing here. Look, you push down on it, pull. There's your fuse box, buried behind all that spaghetti. That's why I use long nose pliers, because they are an absolute pain in the neck to get to. But to make access easier, we're actually going to pop off this end panel here, this trim panel. It's on the end of the dashboard. And what we're going to do is open the door and pop that off using your plastic leverage tool in the little gap here. Look, you'll notice it pops. It's on little plastic poppers. So we're going to open the door, pop that panel off. Go all the way around it, take care with it, you know, don't force it too much, just ease your way around the edge of it. And simply pull away. There we go. There's our cable. Next up, we're going to remove this 30mm nut here to use as an earthing point. So get your 30mm socket out and remove this nut. So here's the bolt we've removed. The eagle-eyed among you will notice that I've replaced the spade connector on the end of the earth wire there with a full ring. It's just because it's a bit more secure, it's just something I always do. And then we're going to put a washer on the bolt to pad it out for when we screw it back in so it doesn't snap off or get tangled up. We can now put this bolt back in the hole it originally came from. There we are guys, there's your earth cable, very good earth there. Next up we're going to feed the power cable through to the fuse box. We're going to be using fuse number 33, which on this particular vehicle is unused. It's the top 5 amp just there. I don't know if we can get a better camera shot for you. There. This one. Obviously check your own vehicle because the specification can vary from country to country. With the ignition off, we're now going to pull that top fuse out and use our fuse spur. We have tested the voltage. So in other words, with the ignition off, you should have 0 voltage when you touch your probe onto the contact, which is really tricky to do because of how recessed it is. So we come down here, 0. And yes, of course, you'd earth out your meter to do this. And then you turn your ignition on and it should go to around 12 volts. There we go, there's the fuse removed from the fuse box. And it's now in our fuse spur, like so. We're now going to plug this where that came from. Like so. Paying attention to which way round the fuse spur is, so it's upright. Now all that's left to do is to quickly test your camera works. So before we do any tidying up of cables, let's pop the ignition on. There we go, little blue light in the corner there. And on it comes. And off again with the ignition, and off it goes. There we go, that's powered up. Now all we need to do is tidy our cabling. With the cabling, just bunch it up, cable tie, electrical tape. You can normally pop it down here, out of the way, like so, and put your cover back on again. As your cover clip back on again, just basically hook it on the inside of the rubber and lever it shut, tap, tap, tap all the way around. Don't forget your fuse box lid, pop that back in, hook it in at the bottom and click shut. My one here being awkward as per usual. There we go. And that's it, guys. You successfully fitted your dash cam. Any questions, pop them in the comments below. I do my best to get back to you as quick as I can, but bear in mind I literally get inundated with questions every single day, so it might take me a day or two to get back to you. Thanks a lot for watching, and goodbye for now.